morning. I am Alberto Villarreal, Managing Director at Nepanoa Transformation Advisory, and I will host today's COVID-19 Playbook live webcast. Thank you very much for joining us today. The purpose of this webcast is to walk you through the playbook, is to talk about the actions that may save businesses and also help them better prepare for the future so that they can thrive in the future. And before we dive into the content, I want to make sure that we understand what Nepanoa's perspective around strategy is at this time. At Nepanoa, we believe that businesses that spend time, that focus their attention, number one, on the issues that they have to deal with today to survive. But number two, and more importantly, focus on the future, on new value propositions, on how the landscape and the world has changed for them, will thrive in the post-COVID-19 world. Those businesses that take this time to implement change and that value the feedback that they're hearing from their employees and their clients will thrive. With that, let's begin. We have divided our material in the playbook in 8 different areas. The first one is building the team to respond to COVID-19. The second one is the timeline of priority actions, where we have built a timeline for the next 8 to 12 weeks with specific actions for businesses. Then we dive into people, your people, the exposure of your business, not only for COVID-19, but for whatever happens after COVID-19, pretty much all of 2020. Communications, how to communicate to your people, how to communicate to your clients, how to communicate to your suppliers. And after we're done with those first 3 pieces where we are reacting to coronavirus, now it's time to play offense a little bit. And we're going to focus on opportunity, identifying those opportunities, both internal, from an operations perspective, and also external to your clients. Then we're going to discuss specific actions around reactivating your business to thrive in the post-COVID-19 world. At the end, we'll devote a couple of minutes to discuss how Nepanoa can help and also any questions that you may have. Let's talk about building the team. As we mentioned, coronavirus took us by surprise from an impact perspective. We have seen good responses, we have seen bad responses, but in the end, businesses are trying to survive. This is not the task of one person. This is not the task of only the CEO. So it's important to align the leaders of each one of your functional areas, which are the little blue circles that you see on your screen. Finance, risk, marketing, procurement, HR. You should have a leader in each one of these functions, helping the decision team with analysis, with information, with ideas, and making sure that the communication is flowing through the correct channels. Now let's talk about the decision team in the middle. Who should be in that decision team? That decision team should be composed of C-level executives, experienced executives that have gone through crises before. These are the leaders of your organization and the ones that will be taking all the information at their hands to make decisions and to drive the organization either left or right. We believe that that decision team should be accompanied by a very strong project manager, either one project manager or a project management team, depending on the size of your organization. But that project management should be able to drive actions, to understand where the issues are, to drive the agenda. This team, as you're reacting to COVID during the first 2 weeks of the crisis, is going to meet at least on a daily basis, discussing ideas, going through information, and more importantly, making decisions. Now let's go into the timeline of priority actions. We have divided our timeline in 3 phases. The first 2 weeks in which you are reacting to survive. The second 3 to 5 weeks in which you're starting to figure it out under the conditions that COVID-19 has brought to us. Your people are already safe. You're already communicating. So now it's time to move forward a little bit. And then the last 4 to 5 weeks, where you are thinking of really playing offense and going into market. I have to make a clarification. We did this timeline thinking that this crisis, or at least the reactive phase or the quarantine phase, it's going to be 8 to 12 weeks. We hope, we really do, that it's shorter than that. But we all know on this webcast that it may be longer than that. So please, from a weekly perspective, take this timeline with a grain of salt. But do take a look at the actions that need to happen and in the order that they need to happen as you're going through this. We have divided the timeline in 5 different areas. We have people, exposure, communications, opportunity, and reactivate. Very important, right in the middle, you see the communications activities. Those 3 activities, you're going to drive them from the beginning of the crisis all the way until the end. Whereas the others take place in different pieces of the next 8 to 12 weeks. The way that this is going to work, for the next 5 slides, we are going to walk through the activities in there, and we're going to provide directional guidance for you to implement in your business. First and foremost, the most important goal at this stage, the initial stage as we're reacting, is keep your people safe. Now, in the United States, we are, I would like to say, from 7 to 10 days ahead of Latin America. Why? Because the virus got here first and we reacted a little bit earlier. But in LATAM, where many governments or several governments have not taken the right actions to quarantine their people, to tell people to actually stay at home and work from home, businesses should be taking the lead and putting these actions forward. So number 1, your objective is to keep them safe. And the way to keep your employees safe is letting them work from home. And the first question that you're going to ask is, Alberto, who should work from home? How? And it's really a role of the functional leaders, the decision team, to take this decision. And the people that should work from home are those that can work from home. Think of HR, think of accounting, think of finance, think of planning. A good rule of thumb is if the work can be done remotely, it should be done remotely. It's very important to include IT in these discussions because IT will let you know, hey, do we have the right capabilities for enough people to work from home? Do we have the right VPN bandwidth? Do these people even have laptops or desktops to work at home? And you're going to have to plan so that you provide them with the right tools to continue working. Now, let's assume that your business, it's an essential business. It's in the food industry, and it really cannot stop working. Well, here I'd like to share a story of a business in Monterrey, in Mexico, that they got ahead of the curve. And several businesses did this, but this one was one of the first ones. They got ahead of the curve, and as soon as they started seeing the reports on coronavirus, they focused on making sure that their employees were safe at the workplace. What they did is they added 2 doctors at the entrance of the workplace and tested for different symptoms of coronavirus. By doing this, they were being a step ahead and just making sure that people felt safe and comforted. The organization is taking care of us, but more importantly, taking care of all the employees of the business. If your government has not dictated any specific guidance, please be ahead of the curve. The second priority is to analyze your risk exposure, the risk exposure of the business. And there are 4 key objectives from an exposure perspective. The first one is forecast, forecast, forecast. You should have from 9 to 15 scenarios, not only for the next 12, 16 weeks, but for all of 2020. You really need to understand and prepare your reaction for each scenario that may happen. COVID-19 may be a virus that unfortunately comes back throughout 2020 or throughout 2021. You need to take those lessons learned and be better prepared for the future. The second priority is understand that cash is king. You have to monitor your position on a daily basis and find forms of liquidity. Have you spoken to your banks? Have you explored all your credit lines? Have you reached out to the government to understand what options are available for you for funding? Have you reached out to your investors? Before even thinking of touching your employees, it is your responsibility as a leader of your business to find different forms of liquidity. Very important, and you may not want to do this, but it may come to it. You should identify which assets of your company could be liquidated quickly for you to obtain cash. The third priority is quick hits. There are times that you have to make tough decisions. After you've explored your liquidity options, after you really understand how your business will evolve over the next 12 months, you may have to release some people. If that is the case, make sure that you're doing it very, very honestly and taking care of people the right way. The last one is the legal aspect. Involve your attorneys early. Have them review your contracts. Have them review the force majeure provisions, the terminations provisions. This may help you get out of deals that may really impact your business in a negative way. Those would be the 4 priorities of the risk exposure of your business during COVID-19. Now let's talk about communications. We have seen very good examples of communications out there. The CEO of Marriott released a fantastic video that it was heartfelt and really, demonstrated the situation. The CEO of Southwest did the same thing. But there were 3 key aspects in their message that I want to point out. Number 1 is they were honest. They were very honest with their clients. They were very honest with their employees. They were very honest with their people. The second one is they were timely. They did it at the right time. They were ahead of the curve. They immediately communicated and they were on top of things. And the third one is they explained not only the actions that they were taking at that time, but also the actions that they would take in the future to survive this crisis. Those 3 lessons is what I invite you to take from those messages of those CEOs. Remember that communication is a 2-way street. So let's start about communicating with your employees. Apart from letting them know what are the health guidance, apart from letting them know who's going to work from home, apart from letting them know when your company will shut down, if it has to shut down, you have to remember that it's important for them to be comfortable in speaking up. They need to be able to ask, hey, what if I don't feel okay? Hey, what is the company doing for me? You should be able to ask, what do you need? How do you feel? Make sure that you're listening to how they are feeling. The second piece is communication with your clients. You have to be very open. That openness and that honesty that you are giving them will be paid in loyalty in the future. Communicate especially with your clients that were expecting something from you and you weren't able to deliver because of coronavirus. Fortunately, everybody is in the same boat. Unfortunately, it looks like this boat is sinking at this time, but this too shall pass. So communicate with your clients. People have been flexible and people have been understanding at this point in time. Turn this negative situation into a positive and explain to them, hey, this is what we're doing now. This is what we will do in the future. And when we're back in business, this is what we will do for you. Try to keep those clients by being honest and by speaking to them and listening. And last but not least, reach out to your suppliers. Your suppliers provide you life. They give you the materials and the services that you need to be able to serve clients. Now is a great time to form strong bonds with them that will last forever. There was a client that shared a story with me last week This is a manufacturing client. This is a maquila client. And they were about to close operations, shut down all the lines because the American customer called them to tell them that they were canceling all their orders from March to August. After having a conversation between the client and the supplier, the client asked, "What is the minimum order that you need to stay open?" The supplier gave them the number, and the client responded, "Fine, we'll do that from here until August, but don't close, do not shut down." That partnership is now stronger than ever because the client was able to extend an olive branch to its supplier and say, "Hey, I need you. We're partners in this. I'm here for you. Do not shut down. What's the minimum order? I'll take the hit, but what's the minimum order?" That is a great example of how you can partner with your suppliers at this point in time. So we're done reacting. We have talked about people. We have talked about communications. We have talked about analyzing the risk exposure of your business. This should be the first 2, 3, 4 weeks. We are in this stage right now in the United States, and I believe we will enter this stage in Latin America soon. Now it's time to think a little bit about the future. Let's think about playing offense a little bit. And this may seem very, very, very far away to you because you're reacting instead of really planning. But this is where the strategy comes in. The first 2, 3 weeks, we're reacting. We're trying to stay alive. We're running 1,000 miles an hour. Now, let's take a step back a little bit and let's analyze what should we do going forward. And there are 3 objectives of identifying opportunity. The first one is devote time to listen. The landscape changed. The world changed. Coronavirus was different for you. Coronavirus was different for your employees. Coronavirus was different for your clients. Everybody experienced COVID-19 under a different lens. Make sure that you are devoting the time to listen to your employees and to listen to your clients. The best opportunities will come directly from your employees because they're experiencing this on a day-to-day basis and they're wondering, wouldn't it be great if? Clients are wondering, wouldn't it be great if? So everybody is seeking for that opportunity to adapt and to thrive. Take that time to listen. There is a company that's actually, they already have in place a mechanism to listen to the ideas of their employees. They have rewards, they have gamified it. It's a very well-established mechanism. They're actually doubling down over the next weeks on that. Right? They're sending emails, they're making sure that corporate communications are letting their employees know, hey, we want to hear from you, not only how we can help you at this point, but also how can the company evolve in the future. And I think that that's a great initiative right now to really listen to what your employees are experiencing. You could even extend it to your clients as well, perhaps use social media to be in touch with them and actually obtain those ideas. The second objective of identifying opportunities is take time to envision the future of your organization. Let's just not talk about what can we offer our clients, but also internally. Use this time. Hey, guess what? Perhaps some of your employees become more productive working from home. Perhaps they like it better working from home. Perhaps they have time to do other things that they can't when they're not in the office. So make sure you're listening to that feedback and start visualizing your organizational model in the future. Hey, there are roles that you will discover that you do not need. More importantly, there are people that you will discover that are super valuable and perhaps before you did not even have them in the radar. So take the time to envision your future organizational model, how your organization looks in the post-COVID-19 world. Draw it out. Do an exercise around it. Make sure that you know where you want to get. Take time to design that goal. You'll worry about getting there as we go out of this crisis. And then the third one is take care of understanding what M&A opportunities are out there. Be on the hunt, if you can, of course. There are businesses that won't be able to do this, but others understand that coronavirus is really affecting everybody. So you should keep your eyes open for different businesses that may be available for you to partner, combine, or even acquire. It's also the other way around. If you were doing your risk assessment and you discovered that you have specific entities that you may be able to liquidate, well, also keep an eye for those M&A opportunities. You could either buy or sell during this time. Finally, let's talk about reactivation, going back to business. And this should happen in the latter stage of coronavirus. As we are getting ready to go out into the world again, number one, you have to be communicating with your clients and with your suppliers. You've been communicating from the beginning. Now when it's time to go, ask your suppliers, are you ready to go? Because I am ready to go. I am ready to go back into this, right? I got a new contract. Can you help me? Talk to your clients. Hey, we've been through this together. Now it's time for us to move forward. This is what we're going to do. Let them know what's coming. Let them know that you are now open for business. I just saw on social media yesterday a restaurant saying, hey, we're temporarily closing down. And rumors started swirling. Oh my God, they're closing down. They liquidated all their employees. And then they had to release a second statement saying, well, we didn't release our employees. We're actually going to continue to pay them over the next weeks. But we're doing what for us is responsible. We're shut it down. We will let you know when we will go back to business. Next thing you know, based on the feedback from their clients, they started delivering to homes. They started, having taking orders for pickup, which will keep them open through this time. But they have already established that connection with their clients, and we'll tell them, hey, when we're ready to open fully, right? When we're ready to open a restaurant, we will let you know. It's important to communicate with your clients and let them know how things are evolving. Be very smart. Be very smart. Take the time once again. I know that this seems very, very far away, but you will have time at some point. And take the time to really develop your back to market strategy. Listen to what's out there so that you can approach it the right way. And operationally, this is very important. Before you even make that decision to go back, you need to make sure that operationally you are sound, that you are actually ready to work. In this case, once again, talk to your suppliers, but more importantly, address the needs that you have internally to be able to work, right? Perhaps you lost some people. Perhaps there are some capabilities that you were used to operating with and now you don't have them anymore. So if you can, and if you have time, do a couple of test runs, right? To make sure that you are good to go. And from there, you can move forward. And finally, be aggressive under the new normal. There will be a time where people are ready to buy products, are ready to go out, are ready to buy services, and you need to be ready. You need to be aggressive. So perhaps use this time to start building proposals if you are in the service industry, or use this time to start prepping your marketing campaign as you will go back into business. But it's important to be aggressive as you're going back into the market. And finally, we can talk about how Nepanoa can help throughout the length of this crisis. From a response management perspective, we're able to perform the PM roles for you, but we're also drive analysis. We're also able to drive forecasts for you, different scenarios. From a communications perspective, we can help you with all your communication needs, from planning the strategy to designing to actually reviewing what's going to go out there. And then from the opportunity and reactivation, that is what Nepanoa does. Nepanoa actually focuses on implementing change for business in the US and Latin America. So we can definitely help you from an opportunity and reactivation perspective to do things the right way.